Hello, dear students. Today we are going to start with a new chapter in Python, and that is called as lists. So basically, what are lists in Python? List is actually a data type in Python, just like other data types, string, tuple, and dictionary. So in today's lesson, we are going to learn about the introduction to list operations, how to traverse a list methods and built-in functions, nested list, copying list as arguments to function, and list manipulation. So let's start now. Now, the first thing that we need to understand is what exactly is a list. List is another container in Python. It can store values. This values, for example, you can have numeric values 10, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. So lists are mutable sequences. We can modify the elements of list in place. The only difference between list and other data types is that it is useful in grouping data of different data types. How do we declare a list? So since it is a container, let's see now. It is an ordered sequence of elements. So now let's see how we can define a list. We can define a list using square brackets. You can give the name of the list. Here I've given list1. Let's say this is a variable, and here using the square brackets we are going to assign the values which are separated by commas. Now lists can contain, as it was specified, numeric values as well as string values or values of any other data type as well. So in case if you would like to store the name, roll number, and marks of a student, they all will contain data of different data types. So list is the most suitable data type available in Python to store this kind of data. As mentioned earlier, list can store data of different data types, mixed data types as well. So here is an example. We first have the empty list. We can create an empty list and fill it in later. Next, we have the list of integers. You can store numeric values, integers. We can also store decimal values over here. List of string, that is list of characters, vowels over here. List of mixed data types. I have taken temp as the name of the list over here and stored the days of the week, Monday with 45, 43, 42 as the numeric data as well. In Python, we can also make a nested list. So what is a nested list? A list within a list is called as a nested list. So these were the examples of lists. Now let's see how we can access each element of a list. The elements of a list are accessed using its index value. What is an index value? Index value is simply a number which starts from 0. The number starts from 0. So just like strings, we can define or access the elements of a list using the index value. Let's say we have a list A. It has elements 1, 2, 3. We have another list B. Using the square brackets, we have defined the elements 4, 5, 6. Now, in case if we wish to print this element, so what is the index value of this element? It is 0. So the next statement that we are going to write is print, write the name of the list and its index value. This will give 1 as the output. In case if you give an index number which does not exist, an element of that index number does not exist, it will flash an index error. So in the next example, we are going to see if we write 2 as the index value, it gives 3 as the output. Moving on to the next part. Let's consider now the most important property of lists, that is lists are mutable. Now, what is meant by mutable? Mutable means you can change the value of the element in place. That is called as mutable. adding and removing elements is slightly different over here. So let's say we have a list of colors. List 1 is equals to red, green, blue, and orange. We have assigned 4 values, elements to it. Now, if we wish to change or override the 4th element of this list, what we need to do is we can access the index number. The index number over here is going to be 3, since we want to override the 4th element. Let's have a quick look. So here, this is the 4th element of the list and the index value is 3. If at all I wish to change the value, I can do that. I have assigned over here black to the 3rd index value. Now let's see how it works. Once we try to print the list, you will see that the 4th value gets overridden. Coming to the list operations, just like strings, we have 3 operations which can be performed over here on list as well. The concatenation, which is performed by the plus operator, replication performed by the multiplication operator, that is the star, and the membership operations are performed by the 2 operators in and not in. Let's have a quick look at their functioning. As suggested earlier, a list can be created in another list as well. So when a list appears as an element of another list, it is called as a nested list. Let's quickly have a look at the example. Let's say we have list 1 and the elements of the list are 1, 2, A, C, and then the next element consists of A, 10, 8, 10, 12. So how are these values indexed? So the 5th element of list is also a list over here. If we print using the index value, since it starts from 0, so the index value of the 5th element is going to be 4. And if we print it, the output that we will receive on the screen is the part of the list, that is the nested part, and it consists of 8, 10, and 12. So to access the element of the nested list of list 1, we have to specify 2 list indices. That means in case if I wish to access 8, 10, 12, any of these elements. So how will I specify the index value? So the first index I will take us to the desired nested list, and the second index j will take us to the desired element in the nested list. As it is suggested, one has to give 2 indices along with the list name. Let's have a quick look. For list 1, for the 4th element, 4th part of the list, if I wish to print the first element, the index number is 1. So the result that I will get is 8. Index I gives the 5th element of list 1, which is a list. Index j gives the 2nd element in the nested list. Moving on to the operations of the list. Concatenation. First one being concatenation. So the operator that is used for concatenation. First of all, what is meant by concatenation? If we wish to join the 2 lists, we can use the concatenation operation, which is used using the plus operator. So let's consider a list. List 1, it is a list of 5 odd integers, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. List 2 is a list of first 5 even integers. So now if we wish to join these 2 lists, list 1 and list 2, now let's see how the list will be joined. So the elements of list 1 followed by list 2. So what would be the syntax for this? Write the name of the first list, then use the plus operator and use the name of the second list. Once we do that and print, you will see that the second list, which consists of even integers, has got concatenated or has got combined with the list 1, and it is displayed on the screen. Let's take up another example. List 3, it consists of elements of different colors, red, green, and blue. List 4 consists of cyan, magenta, yellow, black. Please note here that if we add the two lists, the elements do not change in place. First, the elements of the first specified list will be displayed, and then the elements of the second list, which has been concatenated or joined, rather, you can say, is going to be displayed. So this was about concatenation, and joining the two lists is known as concatenation. It is not addition. So here the plus operator works in a different way. Moving on to the second process, the replication. This is a very interesting feature over here. What we can do is, in case if we wish to duplicate the list values, we can use the operator, that is multiplication operator, and we can duplicate the list elements. So in case if we wish to repeat the elements of list 1 4 times, how do we use it? We will have to use the list name, that is list 1, use the replication operator and multiply it with 4, that is 4 times the elements of the list will be displayed on the screen. So we have hello as our list 1 element, and as you can see, now the list consists of 4 values. So replication operator, that is multiplication operator, allows us to replicate a list. Moving on to the next one, the membership operator. Let's see what membership operators have in store. So if at all we wish to find if an element exists in a list or not, whether it is a member of that list or not. So for that we have been given two operators. One is the in and the other one is the not in operator. So here we have in operator. Let's say we have list 1 once again, and it has elements red, green, and blue. And if I wish to check if red, green, or blue or any other color are a part of the list or not, if I want to find whether it is a subpart, it is an element or not. So what I can do is, since it is a string value, green is put in single quote, use the in operator. Green in list 1 is the syntax. Using this syntax we can find out whether this particular element is a part of list or not. The output will be displayed in the form of true or false. That is, the Boolean output will be displayed in case if the result is, or the evaluation is, true. So since green is present in list 1, output given over here is true. Let's have a quick look at the other example. Is cyan present in list 1? Since it is not present, the output that will be flashed on the screen is false. If I check the opposite of it, cyan not in list 1, of course, not in operator negates the value. So it is going to give me the result as true. Yes, it is not in the list. Few more examples. Checking whether green is not in list. Since it is there, it is true. So the output will be false. Okay. So these were the most important operations that we could perform on a list. Now having a quick look at what is list slicing. The elements of a list are accessed in the same way as characters are accessed in a string. List indexing is same as that of strings, and it starts at 0. So whenever you wish to access a part of the list, a subpart of the list, we use the slicing, and it is exactly the same as the slicing performed on strings. For slicing, we need to know one thing, and that is called as indexing. Now, list also allows two ways indexing, that is the backward indexing and the forward indexing. Let's quickly have a look at how we can perform this list slicing using the indexing feature. Here you can see that we have a list. Consider this list. This is the list that we have, the list elements. If the list element consists of 12, 23, 34, 45, 67, 89, 90, 45, and 34 subsequently are forward indexing. How do we do the forward indexing? We place, it starts with 0. So I place these numbers over here above the list elements. The first being 0, next being 1, 2, 3, and up till 8 I can give the index value to these numbers. For backward indexing, what we need to understand is backward indexing always starts from the right and the index value starts from -1. So moving from right to left, the values -1, -2, -3, -4, -4, 5, and -9 are assigned to the respective list values. How can we apply the indexing in the concept of indexing in list slicing? So we'll quickly have a look. We'll get back to this slide once we take another example as well. So let's have a quick look how list slicing is done. Consider a list over here, list 1. It consists of elements red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, yellow, black. Now, to do the list slicing, I have to use the indexing. So what I can do is, I will put my starting index over here. Using the colon, I can separate it with the last index value. So what happens exactly is, if I take this example 2:6, what happens? Starting from 0, the index value 2, blue is taken up, and then the values 1 less than the last one. So if I've mentioned 2:6, my starting index is 2, but the ending index value is going to be exclusive. So my slicing operation will exclude the last value, and the output that will be displayed on the screen is blue, cyan, magenta, and yellow. So basically, list 1 is truncated to the end of the list. This is the other example that we can see. In case if we mention the second index that is out of the range. So what happens is, it starts with 2, but since the ending index value is out of range, it takes up all the elements that were there in the list till the end. So this is one condition. The second condition that we can face is, what if the first index value is greater than the second index value? That will result in an empty list. No elements will be displayed. Now considering the negative index values, if we mention the negative index values over there, for example, if I take up -6 and -2, in this case, how the slicing takes place. Let's have a quick look at this also. Let me give negative index values first of all to my list. So we start with -1, that is, we go right to left. Black has an index value of -1, yellow -2, and subsequently these are assigned. So in this case, what happens is, since you can see, we have to start from here and then we have to end over here. So I start from 6, but the last value is exclusive. So it will stop over here and display only the elements that start from -6, and we have the output as green, blue, cyan, and magenta. Now, in case if the first and the last index are missing, in list slicing, the first value is the start value, the second value is the end value, whereas The third value is called as the step value. Now, by default, these are the step value is 1. In case if you wish to change it, you can mention the step value as well. So in this case, if the start and the end are missing, skipping one value in between, starting from the 0th index, skipping one value in between, the elements are picked up, the list is sliced, it will go till the end, it will include the last as well, since both the values are missing. If we are not putting the start value also, end value also, and we are simply putting the step value, in that case the list output is going to be in this form. As you can see, it is red, blue, magenta, black, green, cyan, yellow. All these values have been skipped in between. In case if you wish to display the list in reverse order, so what you need to do, this is a very, very important concept in programming. To display the list in reverse order, you may not write the start value, you may not write the end value, simply put -1 in the step. In this case, what is going to happen? Backward indexing is going to take place and all the elements of the list will be displayed in the reverse order. So this was all about list slicing, and now let's see how we can access each and every element of a list. That is how we can traverse a list. To traverse a list, let us first assume that we have a list 1, and it consists of elements red, green, blue, yellow, black. In case if I wish to access each and every element of the list, that means if I wish to access each and every element, what will I have to do? I will have to write the index number. Now, for each and every element, if I write the index number, the program becomes very long and tedious. But since we are aware that to execute the same process again and again, we can use the for loop. So here also we are going to use the for loop to access each and every element of the index. Now for that, what we need to do is we can use the in operator. We can use a variable called item. So for every item in list 1, what is to be done? Print the item. In operator is going to access each and every element. It is going to store it in item, and each and every item will be printed. For every item in the list, the loop will be executed, and subsequently you will see the output that is going to come on the screen is each and every element will be printed. Red, green, blue, yellow, black being the members of the list, they are going to be displayed on the screen. Accessing each element of a list, let's see the second procedure now. This was using the in operator. Now let's see how you can do the list traversal using the while loop. So in this case, what is done is, let's assume the same list 1, red, green, blue, yellow, black are the elements over here. Here we will take up a counter value. The counter value initially is, there's a variable I, and we are going to assign it 0. So herein what we do is we use one of the inbuilt functions of the list to calculate the length of the list. So the while loop, it will start with 0, that is the initial value, but since we are supposed to provide a stop value, what we need to do is we need the number of elements in the list, and that can be found out using the length of the list. So this while loop is going to start from 0 and end up till the length of the list. Now here we need to understand, children, that each and every element is accessed using the index value. If we find out the length of the list, it is going to be 5. So here, and we are going to execute the while loop for I is less than 5. That means up till 4. Let's have a quick look. We can use the index value of list1 of list to print the items of the list. So here we have written print list1 I. To keep on executing the loop, we will have to increase the value of I, as has been the norm for while loop. And with the help of this, if we execute the program, we'll see the output red, green, blue, yellow, and black will be displayed on the screen. So this was all about traversing a screen, traversing a list. Next, we are going to cover in our next segment, in our second segment, the built-in functions, that is the index, remove, extend, insert, append. These are some of the built-in functions, and we are going to learn in our next segment how to use them. For the time